So this is a presentation to show you the changing styles of ladies' dress in the Rococo period. My favourite for its back pleating style all started in the 1720 and came off the back of what was called the mantua dress, and it was called the robe volante, the robe battante, sackback gown, contouche or double sackback. It had what was called Watteau box pleats at the back, and this is because they had been made popular by a man called Jean-Antoine Watteau, who was an artist at the time showing these ladies' fashions and back pleats. Now, volante was the old French word for flying robe or floating dress, and it was a looser style. And like every new ladies' fashion that comes into fashion throughout history, it was scandalous at first, presenting this unstructured fitted dress. Represented a more free-flowing, natural supposed look, although underneath it was still worn with pannier hoops and stays. The next style was 1720s to 60s, and it was called the Robe à la francaise. Obviously originating from the French court, Robe française, larger panniers, more structured look again with a tight bodice. The 50s to the 70s were the height of the peak of the era for this dress, and if you can see at the front, it also had a pinned-in false stomacher on the front. Look at the sublime back to this dress. The Watteau box pleats are now just two, and they've made into a flowing train. Highly patterned materials, beautiful silk fabrics made it a statement. 1770s to 80s saw the robe à l'anglaise, obviously now originating from the English court and supposedly reflecting a more natural figure again. And the back seaming and pleatings on these dresses were absolutely sublime, and these could now present as inverted seams or open pleat type seaming. It derived from the natural English country style look rather than the stiff court French styles. The back is now fitted to the torso with pleating sewn down, now controversially these days known as en furrow seaming. Please see my video about controversy in en furrow. Two styles of robe anglaise. This one called the open gown, which was open at the front and the skirt body showing an underskirt and stomacher, or the closed-bodied anglaise gown with no stomacher and just a closed top. The robe grande or grande habit, the robe de cour or robe of the court, or grande habit de cour. Dating 1730s to 80s, only worn by royalty, aristocrats or the wealthy, and mostly formal wear. Panniers became a huge status symbol. The larger your panniers, and actually your hair and everything became, the wealthier and more statused in society you were. And these also had large, gorgeous box pleatings or even fitted pleatings at the back. Now, 1770s to 80s saw a few little different styles come in and out, and this beautiful style here was called the robe à la Turque. Turkish and Oriental inspired by Lady Mary Wortley Montagu's letters to the Turkish ambassador were published in 1760s. Started off this sort of beautiful layered style. The outer manteau was a different colour to the petticoat, skirt and bodice corsage, and it trailed longer than the undergarment in a slight train. Like this here, and a lovely sash would have been worn round the waist. 1780s saw a dress coat style called a redingote, inspired by men's fashion of course. Again, gentlemen thought that women should not be wearing men's style of clothing because it was a subversion of the traditional gender role. The same sort of time, the robe polonaise became fashionable. It was an overskirt that was bustled up at the back, inspired from the Polish court that came about from the Polish petition in 1772. A decorative underskirt with a bustled back overskirt known as a retrousse in contemporary French sources. And it was slightly shorter, showing off pretty ankles. 1780s to early 90s saw the chemise à la reine. It resembled the under chemise of dresses with a waist and again was scandalous fashion. It had what was called Mameluke style sleeves, these little tied up style sleeves. The Mamelukes were a tribe in the east and they'd got tied up sleeves here. This all came from the Napoleonic Empire Wars. Usually tied with a silk sash, and it was always white or cream linen because it was expensive and laboursome to keep clean, so it showed you had people to do that for you and you were wealthy. This had been designed by Marie Antoinette's personal designer, Rose Batin. 1790s round gown, so called because it was an all-in-one skirt gathered and attached to the bodice in an all-the-way around silhouette. Finishes the Rococo period right up to the Regency, and there was now a fascination in all things ancient Greek style and gave popularity to the high Empire line. Sort of a mixture between the chemise à la reine and the Regency styles of later beautiful muslin and silk, free-flowing, natural-looking dresses. So just take a look at this. Absolutely fabulous. If you've enjoyed another historical fashion story, the journey of the Rococo period in ladies' dresses, do join me again next time. Do like and subscribe. Until then, bye.